Hey everybody, Brad Linder back at you live again with today's card that is going to be The Crow, based off of James O'Barr's book, which that dude's phenomenal. Um, I'm just waiting for everything to update here so I can share it over with the page and then we'll get started. It takes a second, there it goes, cool deal. Alright, sharing over with the page so I can get started on the actual artwork, so hang tight with me just a second. And there we go, cool. Okay, so I'm going to get right into this one because this is one of my absolute favorite comic books of all time. Um, I had known about this book when it originally came out, when it reintroduced itself with the film, and then when the original launch of the book came out as a series of graphic novels, which were eventually collected. And then reproduced when the movie came out, I was just all over this thing. Uh, if my parents had known I had this book, I think they would have blown up. They were pretty cool about it, but yeah, if they didn't know that I had this one at such a young age, they would have freaked. But it was cool. I love this book. Still have a couple of copies of it, and I think I have three or four different versions of the film. The extended director's cut, the anniversary edition, extended, and the tribute edition, which has not the death scene or any of that mess in it, but it's got the tribute footage of all the interviews that Brandon Lee did, uh, which made the movie such a huge success. Anyway, with his being in the prime of his career when it happened, and then when was it, 93, 94, way back when, and then they had a bunch of stuff going on for tributes for stunt people that got injured and whatnot, and all this really cool stuff that he was an activist in, and helped. I mean, he was pretty much like his dad. He was in everything that he possibly could be to be um, a very cool person, just all around cool person. And he definitely left the place a lot better than it was when he got it. I mean, a lot of people don't want the movie to be redone. I believe it's Jason Momoa that's signed up to do it right now. That's the last one that I heard that was going on. And the dude is phenomenal. He's really hot as an actor right now and in his prime. So he's just punching that ticket, which I totally get. But I'm not too sure. You never know, man. I mean, there's something that's weird going on there. Of course, I think it was the family. I don't think it was um, necessarily the film or the character that caused the problem, because Brandon said he was going to die young like his dad, and there you go. But that's not what this is about. Of course, it's about the Crow character, which, if you've never been exposed to the Eric Draven version of the Crow, I mean, there's been many incarnations since. James O'Barr has published and released and licensed many variations on the character, but the primary version that I'm talking about right now, the one that is the Crow for me, is the one that Brandon Lee and Mark DeCostas in the Stairway to Heaven series played as this character, Eric Draven. He was a rock star that was living in the slums with his girlfriend, um, aka Shelley Webster, actually his fiance at the time. But they were going to get married on Halloween, and the crew that ran the slum came in and viciously destroyed their lives, and it was really intense. I mean, they played out. If you watch the film, it plays out exactly like the comic. I was really impressed, and Brandon was recorded in interview after interview saying that he really wanted to pay tribute to the character and keep it to the original form. And uh, James O'Barr was interviewed many times as well. And I mean, James is an awesome guy, and he did this out of tribute of his girlfriend that he lost in an accident, and that's how he coped. So, but check it out if you haven't seen it. You kids may consider it an older movie, um, because of being 94. I tell you what, it holds up till today. Yes, you can tell the effects a little bit now and again because we're so used to the good effects of today. It only takes a couple of years before you end up really getting that strange kind of trim around the characters where you can see, all of that. And I mean, yeah, if you look for it, you can see it. But if you watch the movie to watch the movie, you won't be disappointed at all. It's a great film. It still looks great, still sounds awesome. And because I'm a I'm a rock music guy. I love all kinds of music, but I really love good rock music. It's just in me, man. The music's in me. But yeah, all joking aside, uh, that's one of those things where I really loved all those bands that appeared in that soundtrack, and now they're going to be remaking it with a modern contemporary type of feel to it. So it's probably going to be more dance stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be dark, whatever it is, but I'm not sure if they're going to use some of the modern darker bands, the heavy metal bands, or if they're going to use something similar to what was already done. Uh, who knows how they're going to portray it? They keep talking about this version and that version, and we won't know until it comes out. But they've been doing a lot of stuff. And last I heard, Danny Elfman was attached for the music and stuff. And if he's attached to it, you can guarantee it's going to sound good because he did all the soundtrack for the Justice League that just came out. He was attached to, I believe it was Thor Ragnarok as well, for a couple pieces. And then he did the main core theme song for Wanted. If you saw that movie a couple years ago when it came back out, geez, it's been a while since that film came out. I think it was, I don't know, 08 maybe. It's been a while. Geez, it's already been almost 10 years. Wow, that's sad. But clear my throat here because I haven't talked to anybody all day. But yeah. Anyway, excuse that because I got a sinus infection in my, or an allergy infection actually, in my vocal cords. So I'm kind of blah blah right now. But you guys hang with me. It's going to happen here. We're going to get through it. But as far as the film goes, check it out because Stone Temple Pilots was involved in this one, and I think like 12 other bands. It was crazy. So if I remember right, I think Offspring was tied to it too. I'm not sure 100% on that one. But I mean, there's just some great music in that. There's some opening scene original stuff too, by bands that weren't even listed. So check it out. But this character, his girlfriend was killed, and so was he. And the dude came back by the power of the crow and gave him revenge. Loved it. I've liked all the Crow films, the sequels, but this one was the absolute best and still will be, in my opinion. It is the must-see out of the set. So the reason I'm making him kind of smile here is because he believed in death, bringing death, and when he killed someone, he was pretty much always grinning. He's kind of got a Joker feel to him, but not so much in the psychotic form, because this is pure cold-blooded hardcore vengeance. It's not insanity. There's a difference. I mean, the dude knows that he's dead. He knows that he's back for vengeance. He knows what his mission is, and that's his purpose. So understand that when you follow this character, that's what they're about. Um, the understanding of that character having that mission gives him a Punisher style thought process where it's just 100% boom about the mission, handling business. And sometimes they relate to characters from their past, or their past life that they were taken from, and they have to end up having missions where they help them, kind of thing. And everybody has a little coping mechanism in there for that, as a sideline story to give it humanity to it and remembrance, kind of touching base on what they lost and giving them that moment of realizing reality's back in their life for a moment. Sarah was the young girl that was friends with Shelley and Eric, and she lived in the building, and she would come visit them and stuff, and it ended up having a bad deal because she had a mom that was a druggie and a waitress that lived that would hide out above the bar in the loft that she worked at, in the bar she worked at, and that's where her boyfriend lived, and she was never home and taking care of her and whatnot, and Shelley kind of took her in. But if you've never seen it, I won't give away any more than that, but I'll tell you, it's well worth it, and you won't regret it. I have not met one person that has seen that film that didn't like it. Now, a couple of critics ripped it apart back in the day because they didn't like Brandon Lee, and they didn't think, comic movies were good source material and whatnot. Even back in the 90s, even back in the early 90s, and comics were booming then. And everybody wants to talk about, how comic movies came back, and they were, Blade was the forerunner of this film and that film. But you got to remember, the original Superman movies came out in the late 70s, early 80s, through from 79 to 87, I believe the last one was made, with the radioactive man or nuclear man or wherever he was, that blonde guy with the black and gold suit. I'm not sure what he was. I don't remember it. I've got it on DVD, but I don't remember offhand. You can tell how it affected me. But after that, you had the Keaton movies, for Batman in the late 80s, early 90s. And then this guy came along in 93, 94 and just blew it out of the freaking water. If you want to know where the modern comic movie concept started, it had to be with the 89 Batman. But where contemporary comic films came from that we have now, where they're more humanized and not literal translation from the page, but more conceptual and have a lot more life to them, I believe it started with this film. I really wholeheartedly do. And I'll debate that with anybody because of the fact that, Brandon was in his prime at the time. It was pretty close to the anniversary of his dad's death. And then you had all this going on, and then he was in an accident on the set and ended up passing away in his early 20s. Very, very young. But, yeah, this dude's awesome. This character's awesome. James is outstanding. And James is still kicking around on the circuit. I was just talking with a friend of mine that knows him and got lucky enough to sit next to him. And I've met James in passing a couple times at events over the years and things like that. But I didn't get the chance to really know him like I would like to. But, you can't, in those environments, you really can't get in everybody's way, because then it just tears them up to where they can't do what they're doing, you know. They're there to work at those conventions as well as meet people, and the time's limited, and you got to be fair to everybody to get a chance to get the high buy-in and see the guy. So I didn't stick around too long, but yeah, what I know of him, he was a really, really nice guy. And I'm going to leave this open so that I can color it gray and give it a little more detail and highlight, rather than just doing it all black and messing it up. I'm trying to get more into contrasting grays and darker and lighter tones, so that I can get into grayscaling stuff that is black to give it more detail and pop it out, which is a technique that I highly recommend you use, because that way you don't have to kill everything, you know. They've been doing that a lot with the Black Panther lately, to where he's not just solid black. Ken Lashley was the last artist on it when I started reading it, this new one again, and I only picked up a couple of issues because I know Ken through the internet. I really haven't met him face to face, but I know him online through social media and things, and we talked a couple of times, and he's a really nice dude, and I dig his stuff on the Black Panther. I don't know about the X-Men stuff as much, not to knock his stuff, but you know, it just seems like it's the only traditional style left at Marvel, which I've discussed many a times on here. But yeah, I've gotten to meet James a few times, and he's a very nice guy. He probably doesn't even know who I am, but I was a passing fan at the time. But I met him once in Dallas right after the film came out at the Coca-Cola Starplex, when they had the Dallas Comic Con there. And then I met him in South Texas a couple of times, and San Antonio. Sorry, crunching the paper here as my backing's sliding down the desk. I adjusted everything before I came on, and now it's just sliding off. Trying different angles for you guys to give you better camera angles and whatnot for the book. Knocking stuff off in the process. Now, you guys know that I really like to work the eyes on characters, so this is going to be probably a little intense, but hey, it worked. Cool. Alrighty then. Now I'm going to beef up these eyelids and where he's got his face painted and whatnot. Now that I've got it all laid out, I'm still going to leave these for highlights, because this is makeup, so it's going to shine a little bit. It's going to have a sheen to it. And then we're going to go in and do his hair. Which I'm giving it that 90s wet grunge look. So if you don't know what this wet shiny look is about, it's not dirty. It's just the way we did it back then. It's a slick wet look. You'll see a lot of guys like Jason Momoa wearing it now. Matter of fact, come back full circle to him. He wears his with that wet look. A lot, actually. But just going to go in here and kind of shade this in a little. And if you're wondering what's going on back here, I've got the city on fire. City is on fire. There's the buildings, there's the flame, there's the smoke. Yay, city's burning. We did the job. Okay. So. It's like you're cheering for the fire. That's weird, man. That's weird. So I'm going to color in this hair here. I'll flip it around. Now when the hair comes in and I finish shading this from this one side here, like I'm doing now on this I'm taking it from one side and kind of breaking it up. When I finish all this hair here, he's actually going to look a little bit more like the Crow, if you know the character. Whether you know the movie version or if you know the comic book. Now, I will explain this. There is a difference from the one that I'm drawing right now versus the one that is in the actual comic, because he doesn't have a wet hair look. He had a very spiky European style, or English style more specifically, punk hairdo from when he came out. And if you look it up online, you'll see, you can put in the Crow comic and you'll see page after page after page of that stuff. And it'll give you great examples to really entice you to get into the book. And I highly recommend you do. You can go to James O'Barr's website. You can go to, I think it was Top Shelf, maybe? Top Shelf Publishing that put it out, maybe? I'm not sure. But you can look for the comic for sale and see where to get it as well. A couple of different publishers have put it out. Kitchen Sink Press put it out originally, and Top Shelf put it out after that, and in reprints when the film came out. And then there's spin-off series that have come out through Image and through just about everybody else. James has bounced that title around. Everett Hartsoe, if you know Everett, Everett Hartsoe is the creator of Razor, and he did a crossover with the Eric Draven Crow character. It was the Crow Razor, little mini series they had going on. And then there's, I think there's 4 or 5 different incarnations of the Crow now, to where it's not just Eric anymore. It's other Crow stories come to life in different miniseries and things like that. So if you guys want to check it out, go for it. I highly recommend it. There's some good reads in there. I'm kind of a stickler for the original one. Even with what Everett did, I remember reading Everett's series and I picked it up, but and I've got them all. But that original Crow series was still the standard for me, and I don't know, the other Crow stuff just didn't have the intimacy. That's the exact term for it. It didn't have the intimacy that the later Crows went more action direct, rather than the way Draven and Shelley had that contrast. I mean, you could tell that the emotion of this guy having a personal connection in this world was highly reflected in this book. And I still till this day pick it up and read it once in a while. I've got like I said, a few copies of it, and I read it all the time. Whenever I want to get something that's heartfelt or empathetic, I definitely use that as a reference comic. To get that vibe, I'll read it, and it'll pick it up. Game of Thrones, if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones has that kind of empathetic type of passover to it when you read it, or when you if you read the books. But if you watch the show and the series, that emotional attachment you have to the characters that comes ringing through just like a shot is what I'm talking about. And the Crow does that same thing in that type of feel and movement for the book. So check it out and pay attention to see what's going on in there for yourself and see. But as far as the comic artwork goes, this is more of a Brennan Lee style version of the Crow, which was strictly on screen, and same characters, same cast, same lineup in the book as it is in the movie, but there is like I said, there's a passionate feel to it that's allowed the characters of Eric and Sarah and Shelley to connect as a family. So check it out, and I guarantee you, if you're into it and it clicks with you and it resonates, you will be a fan forever. Really, really, really cool. I'm going to take this guy dark gray too, because I don't want to black him out, because then he'll just be a silhouette, and I don't want to do that. I do that a lot, and I just don't want to do that. I want to color it in a dark gray and be able to highlight it with some blues and things like that. So I'm going to leave that open. And I'm just kind of blocking this in, because the city is going to be a little abstract in the way that I've got plenty of shapes in here and plenty of contrast, but I want to have it just be in the background. I don't want this one to be all high end and detail, and I want to keep it very simple and clean, because I want to be able to show Eric in the foreground here and really make it pop and make that look like he's reaped his wrath in the distance, and that's why he's smiling. And if you see here, this is the round port window that is in their apartment, which he was originally thrown out of. And there's no spoilers there. I mean, you can see that from the footage if you watch the trailer before you watch the movie. And I mean, everybody knows that trailer where you see him falling, and then the crow symbol is lit on fire at the base of the building. And that trailer is a couple of mixed parts of the movie, which I won't spoil. But like I said, he's definitely in contrast with that window for this portrait, as he is in the foreground. And they're way back there. But this is his city, and this is what he's brought forth as the crow. I really, really dig that. Okay, cool deal. I know we've got this one going on. Now, I'll cut in these flames real quick and we'll be done. But like I said, I'm going to shade out this jacket and shirt in some grays and blues, maybe some purples, and get the city going on as well, because contrast that in orange, maybe red, yellow, that kind of thing, and pop it out. And then a dark night sky behind it. Get something going on there. Overlapping flames there. There we go, cool deal. Now, I'll draw in that smoke, and we will be ready to rock and roll with this thing. So, now I've got the trails of smoke covering over each other and overlapping a little bit, because they're coming up from different places, obviously. If you're drawing smoke, be very careful about that, not to make it one big cloud, because then it kills the depth. It is okay to go behind and make that crossover. See how that pops out a little bit? Just that simple overlap can do a lot for you. Okay. I know some people are looking for a little art information, so there you go. A little artistic education. Yep. Now, see, I've got this one separating as well, right in here. And I was going to do a crow here, right up in the sky, kind of like a crow symbol right there. But, you know, a crow hovering over. But I decided to not do that and just go in with the smoke, because of the fact that I don't want it to look, you know, like I'm being cartoony about it and putting the symbol up there of the crow itself. So I decided to black that out and go, just ignore that. But I hope this is cool for you guys. Was it caliber, Noel? If you guys can't see on the YouTube later, there, my buddy Noel is telling me that it came out from Caliber Comics first off. I don't know if Caliber Press had it or not. I thought the original imprint came out from Kitchen Sink Press, but I'm not going to argue the point because I'm not sure. So, but you guys check it out online, check it out for the Crow comic, and give this guy his due diligence and check it out. You will not be disappointed if you're looking for an original dark read that you haven't ever experienced before. So go off of that, and well, I trust you, man. I trust you, Noel. He's confirmed for me that it is Caliber. But you guys go check it out and in its many incarnations and give it a shot, and I appreciate it. I had a poll done with this one to see if I was going to do this guy today or if I was going to do Odin. I will be doing Odin tomorrow. So for those that did put in the private message vote with me and answered and wanted to see Odin, I will do Odin tomorrow for you guys. But for today, that's a wrap for me. I hope you dig it. I hope you check it out, and we'll see you tomorrow.